Quiet on set!
And action!
George Clooney is a movie star. J. Kelly is also a movie star. But who's J. Kelly? Well, that's the question at the center of Noah Baumbach's latest film starring George Clooney, as well as Adam Sandler, Laura Dern, and an expansive ensemble cast.
How about we talk about one of mine? Our favorite movie of 2025, Richard Linklater, second film of the year, Blue Moon.
In 2014, it finally became possible for same-sex couples to get married, adoption as well, but what happens if you get to adopt your partner's IVF baby? Ella Rumpf and Monia Chokri star in Bref d'amour, or Love Letters, that gets exactly into that.
We didn't get to it last week because of our job, but hey, today neither of us are working, so it's a guarantee. We are talking about The Left-Handed Girl today.
Welcome back to the Quiet on Set podcast. I'm Ewan and I'm joined by Kevin. And today, I gotta say, we rhymed in a weird way. We have a stacked episode with reviews of films that we all that we both at least like a lot, if not, have them among our favorites of the year. So it's a very exciting episode. There's also some breaking news that we'll get into shortly. You probably have heard by the time this episode comes out. It was literally just happened an hour before we started recording that the Netflix deal with Warner Brothers went through and they're buying it. Well, we'll get into that in a second. On more important news for us directly, Kevin, you got a new microphone.
Oh yeah, it's right here. Do you like it?
I do.
You especially love the light it has, right? That's your favorite
It can
part.
go RGB. Oh my god, it's changing colors. Isn't that amazing?
Now it's purple. Now it's blue.
Wow.
Nice
he told me
blue.
that he would turn it to one color, but I guess he switched it back to colors changing. Yeah. But it's good. Keep it down there. That's perfect. Keep it down there. But not
I will do the whole podcast like this in front of my face.
Well, Kevin, I also have a new surprise of something that a showcase that I didn't tell you about all week.
Oh, you actually got one, huh?
I got a Steam Deck, and when I told you last night that I'm going to bed, I played this for like 3 hours until like 2
here's the thing. I told him, like, are you going to bed like actually go to bed, or are you just gonna like stay there, watch a movie, and be offline so you don't have to talk to me anymore? And he's like, no, I'm going to bed. And then you now say to me, oh yeah, I've been playing Steam games in 3 hours after that. So wait, you stayed up to like 2 a.m.
Yes, I did. I played a variety of games, just tested them out, and played a bit of everything, like Death Store, like that hockey game. That's pretty fun. I like it. This was worth getting because I never get around to playing anything, and sometimes in bed I instead just listen to stuff. Yeah, it's terrible gamer, great gamer skill wise, of course, but just with allocating the time to play, I'm bad.
Yeah, sure. Mm-hmm. Totally. We totally haven't seen your shooting skills in video games.
Well, hopefully this audience hasn't seen that, but we've played some games live that
well, I got something to showcase as well, which I just literally brought out the mailbox. I do have one edition, which is Honeyland, but at the moment Elmo and Jerry are sitting on it, so I'm not gonna disrupt them. But the movie that I just got is The Children's Hour. Let me put it in front of my face. Hopefully it'll focus on that. Yeah, absolutely not. Okay.
Cool.
But looks really good. I think it got nominated for an Oscar. In terms of nominated for 5 Academy Awards. Wait, have you seen this one?
I don't think wait, what was it called again? Because I couldn't read it because it was so out of focus.
The Children's Hour.
No, I haven't seen this one. Oh. Is it with Aubrey Hepburn or
Hepburn, Shirley MacLaine, and James Garner?
Ah, okay. Well, it's on the watch list for sure. If we check for both of us.
Right. Wait. Talking about watch list, do you want to do a guess how many movies there are on my watch list?
I guess we haven't done this on the podcast. He does this to me like every few months. He needs to tell me that he has more movies on his watch list than on his watched list. I think for you it's like 7,500, and for me it's around 3.9k.
Well,
Just
how
a
about you
guesstimate.
add 354 movies to it?
To yours?
Yeah. So
I
my
guess I
watch
said
list currently
7,000.
has 7,854 films. I'm fucked. I'm never seeing all those movies in my entire lifetime. I'm fucked.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of them you just add onto it, like in a way of I don't know. You just want to not forget them, but not something that you actually want to see.
No. Most of them I do want to actually see. I'd say about 95% of them are what I want to see. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah. If I have mine a bit more curated, I feel pretty confident to say that like I'm seeing everything that's on the watch list. At some point in my life, I definitely want to. I mean, my watching habits are a bit more, accommodating for that, for just how much I end up watching. But let's make the transition over to Netflix, because soon you'll be able to not just watch the latest season of Stranger Things, I guess that's ending, but Wednesday, if that keeps going, or insert other Netflix property. Really funny in the statement, by the way, they named Adolescence as one of their, like,
Oh yeah, and
trademark.
K-pop. Yeah.
It was weird to list adolescents about, like, murder and the manosphere alongside, like, the K-pop phenomenon, K-pop demon hunters. But that's just Netflix for you with all of the true crime
Honestly,
stuff.
great double bill. Great double bill. Yeah.
Great double bill, yeah. But yeah, let's catch you up to speed with everything you need to know about the Netflix Warner Bros. Deal. Netflix has entered exclusive talks with Warner Bros. Discovery late last night. We wanted to discuss that, but since then, the deal has fully gone through. Netflix is buying Warner Bros. And set to acquire the company after the separation of Discovery Global for the total enterprise value of 82.7 billion, with an equity value of 72 million, if that interests you. So they went a bit above the current, like, stock price for it, which is around 23 or something
in cash.
Like,
yeah.
They are paying that. Yeah, they're basically paying everything that it's currently valued at in cash, and then to buy them out, they also get like 4.5
in Netflix stocks. Yeah.
in Netflix stock per thing. Overall, great for the shareholders of both companies to unite. The deal is expected to go through in the next 12 to 18 months, so it's not like by 2026 we'll have this deal fully operational. But I was just joking, but then also only half joking with Kevin before that maybe the Batman 2 only gets like a limited 2-week theatrical window before it starts streaming over on Netflix. And that's not the most unrealistic dystopian thing. We might be heading towards that. Although you said that you think it's one of those films that they'll still have an extended window for, but I'm not entirely sure in the long run if that's what Netflix's role will be. We discussed previously that I think Netflix would, in both of our minds, have been the worst option to go with because it's the most disruptive to the overall industry. With Paramount, you would have had a company that I think the regulatory issues with the ties to the Trump administration would have been the most concerning with the TV stuff, and not like TV as in TV shows, but like the broadcasting service with CNN and all of that. But they're splitting that into a new, completely different company that, going by the naming habits, might be named Discovery Max or something like that. I don't know what they'll go with next, but that's splitting up in Q3 of 2026. Only after that has fully separated from the company is when Netflix is swooping in and buying out the whole company. So that's currently the plan. As we speak, there is a webcast conference that they're doing, giving more details. If there's anything worthwhile to report from that, we'll insert it right here. Otherwise, there's a few more statements that might be interesting to read. A lot of them basically just say that both companies are great. Now we're combining to have greater greatness, like the typical sort of industry companies speak, the jargon of maximizing shareholder value, bringing more value and great choices to the consumer, yada yada yada. Effectively, Netflix is a great service for what you're using it for the amount of content that's there, but we also often want to emphasize how easy it is for something to get lost there. And I think we both agree that as a curating service, Netflix is shitting the bed more often than not. But to me, the only good thing about this would be the combination of the streaming services into one, where a lot of the library, if you look at Netflix, there's rarely a film from the 80s. I don't know if there's any films from the 70s or 60s in there, let alone anything before, the 50s. And HBO does have a lot of the rights, obviously, to those Warner Bros. Properties. So at least if those get available more widely, maybe that can have a bit of a boost of, like, having accessibility to these films and shouting them out more. But that's, like, giving them so much for basically them just like acquiring an industry tightened with a long legacy and wrapping them up as a neat little Christmas present to maximize the value for our shareholders. So yeah, I've said a ton. Hopefully that gives you a bit of an overview. But Kevin, what do you think about this whole ordeal?
Honestly, let me first sort of give my experience of this news. I mean, I woke up with the news that I sent you, that, there were updated talks, new bits were sent in, the whole thing. So I was like, fuck, this is the news I'm waking up with. An hour later, exclusive talks. It's like, Netflix, shit, movies are over. And then
Yeah.
I cannot tell you the amount, Ewan, the amount of Succession gifs, reactions I've seen because of these talks that were going on. I've seen them everywhere. And literally,
the studio clips should also,
yeah,
be
exactly.
fruitful.
An hour before recording, or like a few hours before recording, then the news actually hit with that 80 plus billion. And, because I honestly thought back in the day when Disney was buying Fox, like that was like an every week news type of thing. This was like an hourly thing. It went by so quickly that, we're all a bit taken aback. Like, we barely have processed this. So I'm very stunned at the speed these talks were held at, even though they did put a timeline for themselves, that being mid-December, kind of lock it in. And we're like the 5th of December at the moment. So in terms of the deadline, that's been well reached in advance. The biggest question of all is the regulatory thing about this whole ordeal. Does Netflix get too much power if it swoops up HBO Max? Because HBO Max, like, only behind Prime and Disney Plus was really like a stronghold, and now that one gets swept away. Then the question is, they have said at the moment, Netflix has said like, hey, we're gonna keep all of Warner Brothers Studio Discovery intact. So that probably means the HBO Max is gonna, stay alive as a service on its own. But as we have seen with Disney and Hulu, Disney has, after a while, also has said like, let's swoop Hulu back in our catalog.
Yeah.
So I fear the same thing will happen with Netflix and HBO Max, even though they are saying they won't do that. But that's just like a false promise, essentially.
Yeah.
So I don't want to see that. And then, of course, because let's be honest, Warner Brothers Studios has cost $4 billion at the box office this week. Like, imagine all those lost dollars to Netflix streaming only first. So it's a massive loss for cinemas in general worldwide. We were talking about the worst outcome, and this sort of is. Like, it's not all cons. Like, I'm not saying there's a single advantage for this. For the consumer, for the user, yes, it will be great. Oh, I can only have one streaming service now. Nowadays, I always need like 10 or something. So, in that regard, for the consumer, it's a good deal. But for the industry in general, it is not. I believe the Director Guilds of America also has set a meeting with Netflix to express their concerns. Christopher Nolan is the guy who is leading DJ at the moment as well, right? I
don't know.
So he'll definitely have a say in that. That's why I remembered. So there will be a lot of opinions that are going to be spoken about this deal in the coming days, not weeks, in the coming days, probably weeks as well. And we'll be sure to gather the most important information as well, because at this point, it's gonna be a weekly news thing. Because it's a massive news, breaking news.
This is the biggest thing since the strikes. Easily. What we haven't talked about yet is that there's still the looming thing of the administration blocking a possible merger and just blowing it all up. That is still a possibility. That I don't think that like this is fully set in stone yet. They also have like in the statement that we'll link below. The like subtitle for a section of it was combination will offer more choice, more opportunities, more value, and then they go into the complementary strengths and assets, and then they say Warner Bros. Studios are world class, with Warner Bros. Recognized as a leading supplier of television titles and filmed entertainment. HBO and HBO Max also provide a compelling complementary offering for consumers. Netflix expects to maintain Warner Bros. Current operations and build on its strengths, including theatrical releases for films. And that is like, okay, they'll keep the thing going that they've had going for the theatrical exhibition. That's the question for, okay, how much, how long? That's all sort of up to them.
For me,
right?
It's the how long. It's the how long. Like it's not a question of if, it's a question of when.
Well, I said that when with the sale being inbound last week, and then it was literally not even a week for the when.
Yeah.
And for this, about a year from now is the earliest that we can expect this to fully take effect of them being published under. I don't know how that will obviously play out, because 20th Century, right, is still sort of a brand of Disney, but where I feel like, I don't know if it still says Disney Presents, or if it's only like 20th Century that like I have to pay attention to that a
20th
bit more.
Century, I believe, yeah. Or so like Searchlight, that's another division here.
So for me, like the smartest thing for Netflix to do would be to branch their thing off into, because they already are doing games, right, on their service. You have the straight to streaming movies and TV, and you now have Warner Brothers as the exhibition business for theatrical releases. Why not, if next time Sony comes around to sell you like a big title, you do publish it under that Warner Bros. Name into theaters, and then it comes to Netflix. So it's basically the setup that they have with Sony right now, which is like one of the big media houses that doesn't have its own streaming service. And you kind of would want to treat Warner Brothers the same way, where maybe you have these exclusive deals of stuff that lands there, but instead of what they've been doing with Sony and putting the stuff reluctantly kind of into theaters, if it's as big a hit as K-pop Demon Hunters, maybe the first route would be to put it into theaters. And I think it also wouldn't hurt to do it day and date. You know, obviously that like back in 2021 when Warner Brothers did that for a year, it was an interesting year to be doing that, and like the anecdotal data that you get from that, and the sort of muted turnout in theaters, which was also in turn, you know, coinciding with COVID still being very much a thing, so people were going out way less regardless. But just having the option and having a one of the major distributors, which Netflix maybe is one of them now as well, then soon at least, to put stuff out in wide release, I think that there's still a value. And the only thing that Netflix has been doing reluctantly is putting stuff in limited release, you know, with Frankenstein, with the Catherine Bigelow film, what's it called?
House of
Dynamite. And J. Kally as well. You know, there was only a very limited release for them.
But I remember back in the day, I watched The Irishman in theaters. Like I watched Roma in theaters. I have not had the opportunity as a European to watch J. Kally, to watch Frankenstein, to watch any of the other ones that they've released this year in theaters. Like I have not had the option to. Luckily, I've had to, thanks to at the Venice Film Festival. But that's it. So I'm also wondering how this will be internationally in terms of production, because as we go to these film festivals, oftentimes with the French ones or any of the other ones, like there will be a Netflix Presents, Warner Bros. Presents. So I wonder, because you're also obligated to, as a streaming service, to invest in the local, audiovisual productions. So how will that work out? I think there are a lot of more factors at play than people take for granted at first glance. So I'm very curious to read about deeper repercussions of this deal internationally and not just, broadly speaking.
Yeah, it's the same thing here with the Netflix releases, which have basically one distributor here, a Swiss and German one that picks up oftentimes also A24 releases as well here, and through them we just screened Kally for a week. We had Frankenstein for a week. We had House of Dynamite we didn't take, but that was also out through that distribution company. And I think it doesn't really change anything if it's, I guess, Warner Bros. Stuff. I don't. The question. No, actually, yeah, those are the questionable repercussions, because Warner Brothers is a company that operates worldwide, and with Netflix, it was only a licensing thing of, is it only distribution rights for the US Netflix, and then you were able to turn on a VPN and still watch it, which, by the way, they're cracking down on that way more now as well. It's often not possible anymore to do that. And with Warner Brothers folding in, like for me here in Switzerland, Paramount also doesn't have its own local setup here. It's only PR companies who manage the press side of it. Sony is the same thing. It really is deteriorating rapidly, and it's not just the production side of and the headquarters that this is like a worldwide effect that will come into play. And a lot of open-ended questions. Like you said, this will be a story for months to come, with updates probably like every few weeks or so, right?
One last thing I want to add as well is that if in the case, Netflix is deciding to let's actually go theatrically a bit more, like in an article I also read, like they will have to learn the ropes of global theatrical distribution on a very short amount of time as well, and sort of perfect that, like decide which movies are we going to push theatrically. Because a friend of mine in Australia has had the opportunity to go see Knives Out, the new Knives Out movie, in theaters, and the whole screening was packed. That is a movie that you would put in theaters, but that's a movie that has previous success in 2019. So in the future, with new IPs, new brands, they will have to make the wise choices of which movies are we going to put on streaming first, which ones are we going to put theatrically. Those are decisions and like the ropes they will have to learn very quickly as well. So I'm curious to see, in the case, if they decide to go to the theatrical, down to the theatrical path, of how they will execute it.
I remember like 1 or 2 years ago, I forget what the movie was called, but that same distribution company in Switzerland at a conference where they preview and give an overview of that, or like screen some films and give us a heads up for their plans for the year. They had a title in there, and I think like a day after they announced it, they had to cancel it again. And I think it was Netflix who said like, no, we're actually not releasing it, but like theatrically. So it's, even if these deals are sometimes in place with international distribution companies, it's very much up in the air, and they're quite indecisive sometimes of like what they actually want to be in theaters worldwide. It's quite frustrating, because I feel like from the accessibility question of like more stuff that you can watch more easily, overall that should be a good thing. But I think if you only think about the supply, you start to lose sight of a sort of demand that is also lacking, because the choices are just stacked up so much that you end up seeking it less because it's always available, as weird as that sounds. And that inaccessibility kind of you need to put on your noggin and think about like actually going to see something. It's more interactive that way, and I think it strengthens that relationship with that sort of medium, and I think it's getting more and more lost as we enter more of the streaming media space.
I think we've had enough Warner Brothers talk and Netflix in it.
Yeah, it's
oh like, shit, we're talking about a Netflix movie up next.
Let's fucking you wanna jump straight into
Well, let's do it. I mean, do you want to read the synopsis or should I?
You
go for it, bro.
Read it.
Famous movie actor Kally embarks on a journey of self-discovery, confronting both his past and present, accompanied by his devoted manager wrong. The movie, directed by Noah Baumbach, starring George Clooney, Adam Sandler, Laura Dern, Billy Crudup, Greta Gerwig, Jim Broadbent, Patrick Wilson, Riley Keough, Grace Edwards, Charlie Rowe, Louis Partridge, Stacy Keach, Alba Rohrwacher. Is there anybody else? Isla Fisher in this too, I guess. Too many names. The guy is currently holding a poster of J. Kelly. Wow. I do low-key hate that text font of J. Kelly because it just reminds me of Priscilla so much, and that Priscilla font has been copied to death.
What do you say?
Nothing. Anyway, the score is by Nicholas Brittle.
Brittle.
Exactly.
Brittle.
So
Brittle. What the fuck, man? It's Brittle.
Brittle.
He's the one who did Succession too. So
I know.
A
friend of mine, Simi. Hey, Simi. Like he has Brittle in like his top Spotify. Like he rinses that Succession soundtrack as well as Minari. Minari is also in his top soundtrack.
I had one of the things in my Wrapped was also Nicholas Britell, the Succession score.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've introduced J. Kelly already, so pop off, sir.
Pop off to you as well. Well, maybe didn't mention yet that we got to see this together in person in Venice, so that was very nice.
On the big screen.
Getting to experience it there was something special in a room full of people who... Since then, the reception of this film has been quite interesting, because it feels like it goes up and down, where it's being called like this sort of self-indulging industry story of like, why would we care about this fictional movie star and his shortcomings, and it's like... Bitch, that's the fucking movies. You tend to care about someone who you maybe wouldn't have that much empathy for the position that they're in, but through the medium of how it's being presented to you, you actually learn to give a damn. And I ended up rewatching this now that it's on Netflix, and I gave even 2 damn mores. Literally in my notes sometimes I wrote down damn as the one or the other tear went down my face. I think this is like a deeply emotional film that is crafted quite well. The ensemble cast gets a bit overbearing at times, and I noticed on my rewatch how intentional that is. I mean, that's obvious, but it's also just maybe it's just Adam Sandler in there, but I did feel sometimes it was like uncut gems in the way that it gave me anxiety of him just having to interact with people, and at all times I was thinking like, how does he fuck, like how can he fuck it up in a way, or like how can other people fuck up the interaction? How can it get weird, and how often does it get weird, and how much do you take away from it? And then the underlying like deeper relationship that are like burdened and hurt through his success and just the person that he is, and then realizing that isn't exclusively something that a movie star can have. It can be, as much as they end up focusing on, you know, the sort of previous, I guess, relationship between Adam Sandler and Laura Dern's character, it can sort of affect everyone, like, kind of sickle down. Kevin, I think you, especially after the Venice screening, also wanted to talk about like the structure of the film, that you can definitely feel it being chapters. So can you tell me more about that?
Well, for me, in my Venice review, I also said like I love the first act. The middle part is quite messy, and then the third act, and I actually even said like the last. So because I scrolled through the movie a bit for this recap, but like the last, I think the 16 minutes, like between 20 and 16 minutes of the movie, like those are the good parts. Those are, I dare say, the great parts. The movie starts out with the wanna. Yo. I would have tasted on one.
Catering to you.
Oh. Exactly. They're catering to me. And then we have the wrap up. And from that point on, so the Warner is supposed to show how big of a movie star, like, hey, everybody's chasing J. Kelly. This is the man. So you're instantly getting locked into what kind of a person J. Kelly is. And obviously it helps a lot that it's played by George Clooney, because he has this aura naturally about himself. So it's natural for him to sort of transition that aura to the character. And that's where the line between George Clooney and J. Kelly oftentimes gets blurry, which is intentional.
I mean,
So
literally the first scene when they say that's a wrap on J. Kally, right? It's literally like this movie. It is meta from the get go, from the start.
and after this wrap up and this Warner, we get this lovely conversation between, hey, I'm free now, to his daughter, and the daughter saying, well, actually, I'm leaving, like it's vacation, I'm out of here. From that point on, we get into the emotional stuff, and the emotional stuff of this movie is pretty well done. So we get the relationship with his daughter. Afterwards, we hear one of his mentors has passed away. In a lovely scene with the broadband, by the way. I will quickly say, in terms, because there are a lot of supporting characters, and oftentimes, like you said, way too many.
Gets
But
overwhelming, yeah.
But if I have to shout out 5 in particular, it's Adam Sandler, who is pretty good. Jim Broadbent, who is his mentor that passes away, but in a lovely flashback scene, making him a sandwich. We got Billy Crudup, who not long after Jim Broadbent flashbacks, we see Billy Crudup. And should I say, he steals that one scene from Clooney, when he's reading that menu. Like, it's a very, very strong performance. Again, really meta as well, because they're talking about method acting. Then, obviously, we have Patrick Wilson. And last but not least, we have Riley Keough, who we will talk about further into the review, since she more appears towards the end of the movie. She also had a therapy scene with George Clooney. But the first 45 minutes for me are excellent. Perhaps maybe not like a certain tennis match, because like obviously Clooney wants to chase after his daughter towards Europe, and I hate the tennis match scene so much because all the yapping they're doing, they could have played the point and won the match, So like, as a tennis player, that just infuriated the shit out of me, because like you're already at match point.
But
like,
that is sort of Adam Sandler's character as well. He's like constantly on the phone complaining, but also solving stuff. But everything that he solves is sort of happening off screen. On screen, he's just complaining all the time.
like if his daughter in the movie just serves, and Adam Sandler just rushes towards the net and finishes it off, hey, the match is over. You can go home. But nah, you keep complaining for 3 minutes with your opponent. Hey, can we finish this match another day? So now, besides those, the first 45 minutes are excellent. Then we've talked extensively to each other about the train sequence. And the train sequence is quite messy. We cut back and forth, and every time we cut back to a certain flashback, whether it be with Riley Keough, whether it be with his old flame co-star, like those are the juicy parts. Whether it's a theater, like how did J. Kally come to be, like those are the heartbeats of this movie. And whenever you cut away from that towards the train, where it's a more comic, now not all the train stuff is bad. For example, when he enters the train and he sees this sort of ordinary life that he perhaps wished he could have experienced, like that's an actual sweet moment and like thematically resonant with his character. But then you make all the passengers on this train, you sort of it's a stereotype of their nation, like whether they're British, whether they're German, like it feels very off with the rest of the movie.
Yeah, comedically, it definitely there is a sort of disconnect. I feel like not all of the represented countries are like within a stereotype, but it's very much a bit more of a sort of J. Kally, and the way that he looks at them is this sort of curiosity, but it's also putting on the sort of fake charming smile of it all, the way that he looks at everyone with beguiling eyes in a way, while he's having this deeply internal struggle that each time he gets to be alone, he loses himself in the memories of it all, which resonated with me as well when, also played for comedy is a scene with his daughter early on where he's like, oh, I'm always alone, and then he gets handed a drink and says like, thanks to the guy who gave it to him. And it's like he's obviously aware of that. I don't think he's like that daft that he wouldn't notice like the hypocrisy in that, but I feel like it's someone who from the beginning about like his way of making time for others is not really changed in a way where he's confronted with his daughter having other plans, when that used to be the case. When he gets home, all they wanted was more of his attention and he had to leave again. But since that has turned in a way where he's left so many times that they're not waiting for him anymore, he can't get like on that level of someone not chasing after him, right? And you can see someone who's conflicted with that. Obviously, I think if you look at someone, you have a lot of judgment for that because you feel like that's a shortcoming of your personality of a parent for not being there for your family. But there's always something like, if you write it off that way, then you lose a lot of depth to like a person's still. I feel like you can look at someone's shortcomings and get a lot away from it. And then to me, this train scene was so much more of like his own frustrations, where I feel like it's not hidden in any way. That this is maybe a slight spoiler, maybe also for the rest of the review. If you do want to not be spoiled, then we definitely recommend you go see this film. But when he chases after him, and it ultimately leads to like a news story where he did something bad by punching his friend after he attacked him, breaking his nose, and the whole sort of what's it called, like court thing that comes out of that ends up being solved right after he tells him that, he like blows up at like Adam Sandler's character. And to me, it was like in that scene, when I watched it in Venice, I was really mad. I felt like it was a forced way that he's just lashing out and crashing out for no reason. But then I realized, no, this guy is always putting on the friendly front, even though he's like, actually, he's mad right now because he wanted to apologize and he's told he can't, so he won't because it's bad for his career. So he can't help but making the best choices for his career at the sake of what he actually would want to improve in. And he's only enabled in those ways. Then he calls him, you're a friend who takes 15% of my salary. And it's like, you are not a friend to me in a way that I need to apologize for punching him, for feeling bad. You're the one who's making the business friend choices right now. And I was like, okay, that's so well written. And I didn't realize that on the first go around, because it happens so quickly. Everything moves so quickly that it's like drowning out your senses in a way, where he's constantly confronted with this ensemble cast that ultimately, in the same way that he loses sight of what's important, I also lose sight of what was at the core of the story, because there's so much for it. And then I was like, ooh, I'm resonating with this maybe a bit more than I'm taking out of it. Maybe it makes it for a lesser movie, but to me, thinking about it, it like adds to it a lot. So, sorry, my rant over. I had a whole lot to say about the train sequence. I think because right, that ends with that story, and then the one that comes out, and you see him at the table wondering which one it is, and he just expects it to be the bad one. The way that I read it, I feel like he's a bit taken aback that like the way that they call him a hero and make him into this figure, and then obviously disregarding the person who's had the mental, like, the only thing then that scene is, to me, it's a bit odd in the way that he acts out so perfectly into this setup of like him stepping into a hero, and then it's just all resolved again. So it's not perfect, but I saw what maybe he was going for, or I read something into the story that I quite enjoyed.
What I would have preferred is that heroic act that he does, it's written out of the screenplay. And because I found the way they muffled the story of Billy Crudup and like their fight away, I found that one way more telling of the industry, of like, oh shit, these guys, these actors, we can all name up canceled actors or actors that have done bad shit things in our mind, but they like sort of get muffled away. And I thought it would have been way more interesting had they made this connection, the connection that he had with these train passengers, would have made for a much more inspiring story than like, hey, look how he's connecting with these people around him. Then, for example, oh yeah, he saved this woman's handbag from a crazy Donnie, and now he's a hero. There is something there, and they made it a bit too goofy. like especially because the German actor that is supposed to be crazy, does it so over the top that it gets ruined for me. Like there is like a solid things to do with the train sequence, but like just not all of it hits. And for me, it could have done without the heroic act, and they should have done a positive spin on the train connection thing with the passengers instead of just his heroic act. The fact that they are muffling away the story of Billy Crudup, like I find that one way more interesting than the heroic acting, because that's just a coincidence, right?
Yeah, and I think that scene actually ends up adding a lot to the story. On the rewatch, I didn't like it on the first go around. I did like it more having seen it just now, and I can't really tell you why.
The heroic act, you mean?
Yeah, I feel like it ends up being relevant. As a sort of larger representation of how he keeps being perceived in a way, and how he wants to, like the sort of distractions that he has with himself, like listening to his daughter, and then as soon as her boyfriend turns on the camera, he's like drifting off.
But that part totally agree. But it's just that chase robbery, that heroic act, just it sours that middle section for me so much. But hey, look, it gets uplifted by a very strong end. I guess we can talk about the end now, because we're in spoiler territory.
Well, one more thing between the sort of previous love thing with Adam Sandler and Laura Dern's character.
Oh yeah.
That's to me the part that I would want out of the film, because it is simply just a reminder of how bad of a friend he is to them, the industry and whatever. I feel like there's enough between Adam Sandler and George Clooney's character for that it doesn't need to have them recount something that happened like 19 years ago. And just it feels very narration-like,
Laura Dern's character is just there to abandon ship, to basically emphasize, hey, some of these relationships are just purely transactional in terms of fame, in terms of management, etc., etc.
Yeah. I think she's probably the, like, not to overemphasize, but I feel like she's the worst character in the movie, unfortunately, because there's really nothing to her other than she gets shit done, and then she has the like sort of scene in between the like UK people where they're like sharing snacks, and she. Like, I see that be the focus of she has very trailer-worthy moments in a way. Like, for the Zurich Film Festival, they ended their like trailer with I want to touch people, and she goes like, don't touch people, and it was like played for comedy and all. And I feel like she's not adding to the substance of this film, which I feel like there's quite a bit of comedy in here as well, but I feel like the core of it is, which I feel like you want to talk about next in all of the Riley
Well,
Keough
actually, you're reminding me, because after the train section, they arrive in Italy, and then you have a sort of like lunch thing with the Italians and with Jane Kelly's father, and that one also like they're doing things there, like they're playing things straight, and then you also got the Jane Kelly, like, and they're also like again like an Italian stereotype, and it's like, god damn it, like you need to balance this a bit more. I would have loved more things with his dad and Jay Kelly himself, but they have that sort of later on in the kitchen. But even then, like in that kitchen part, it isn't really that, that, like, there's not a lot of depth in that kitchen. Like, it's just like, I want to leave. I do not want to be a tribute. I don't want to be a part of your life in that way. So yeah.
You know why I actually like it that way, and why I like the train sequence more and the dinner more? I like the whole movie a bit more.
You're blowing my mind with this. I'm not gonna lie, because we were so on board with Invented, and now you flipped on me.
I feel like the whole rushing through and not having time to actively process anything is exactly what he's going through as a character. That all of these sort of misdirections into different places end up being the thing of like, no, we don't get a full portrait of this guy. We don't get to fully understand why he keeps making the same choices. We don't really have much more access to him as a person other than that he wants to mend the relationships that he's hurt, while not really having anything like to say about how he's different, how he's learned from something. He's the same person, basically. I found that quite interesting. You know, it doesn't sort of want that resolution for him to be some path that he has to make for himself. Ultimately, he still chases after the dad that he, if he talks to others, would say he doesn't like him at all. But he still wants that validation and chases after him. As you can see, that like that's where he'll end up with his own children, and he just doesn't want to do that. He doesn't want to be the person in a taxi riding off. So he for the last part of the movie, he ends up chasing taxis and trying to at least mend the relationship with Adam Sandler, which I don't know if he's really successful at that. You know, the way that he does it is not great at all.
But if we're talking about the end, the highlight of this movie, without a doubt, is when he's in those woods and he's on that call with his daughter.
I was fully bawling.
We were both saying in Venice, like, oh, Wiley Keough, Oscar nomination, like, and we both hate to use those terms in like around the film festival because it gets thrown around so much. But in that instant, I think we were both on the same page of that was a great fucking scene.
And she has like 5, maybe 7 minutes of screen time in this movie. I don't know if she has much more. That like it leaves at least such
10,
an impact.
like 10 minutes maximum.
Yeah, and it leaves such an impact. She's really, really good in this in her role. Yeah, I don't know. Like this is like one line read there where like talking about inviting her, and she goes like, "Oh, did you think that me adoring basically your career is going to help our relationship?" And he's like, "No, well, yeah, kind of, maybe. Well, maybe." And then he says, "It's still a big thing. It's like 35 years of my life, my career." And she goes, I'm 34. And it's like, it's such a simple line, but it's like that scene that is really perfect. I think that's like speaks to the whole strength of the film.
That's why I also in retrospect like the flashback with Jim Broadbent so much, because he literally asked like, hey, can you attach your name to like, I mean, it's sort of the same thing, like, please be involved with me.
This whole movie this whole movie is like making the correct choices for your career is always in turn the incorrect choice for him personally. Yeah. And that just makes me feel a lot for him as a character and everyone around him, because he put into this dilemma where he gets outwardly perceived in a positive way for all of the wrong choices. And I think it's so easy to conflate the wrong kind of success for your own personal life. I mean, we are consistently at every minute of the day, we're sort of confronted with that as well, you know, in the capitalist world that we live in, the attention-seeking world that we live in, that like the sort of thing where if you go after, you know, if you do a fucking TikTok dance and you have interactions with that, like that's perceived to be, you do it because there might be an interest for it there. What does it do for you? What does it do to you? Like 30 years from now, what do you think back on that? Yeah, it's interesting. Like, not obviously not in the same way, but like that's something that having done this, putting something into the internet sphere of it all, of like the non-erasable digital history. It's interesting to like be confronted with that, because we are not movie stars, but we are very accessible still. All of us in one way or another
on social media in general. Yeah.
And I don't know. It's made me think a lot, and yeah.
And then we arrive to the big finale, the grand finale, which is the montage. That scene was definitely the moment where I got the biggest chills, because they are playing George Clooney's actual movies during the tribute montage they're showing to J. Kally. And you told me that, or you sent me a clip of Clooney saying like, hey, yeah, my reaction to that montage, because I didn't know about the existence of that montage, my reaction to seeing that montage is the first take, which is also in the movie. That's where the lines of George Clooney and J. Kally blur the most. They sort of start blending with each other, if you will. In the whole movie, they're like sort of like pounding against each other, and then like when that montage hits, they are on the same page, on the same line. And yeah, it's a moment that if you've ever just watched George Clooney in the movie, and he's looking around that room, I think every artist, every general, person in their life will think about like, hey, yeah, when I see the life that I've had, who are the people along the way that have impacted me, and they are in that same theater watching the montage along with him.
Yeah,
And yeah,
the blend that it has is like a line early in the film when he says, "All my memories are movies."
yeah,
And you can truly see him being taken so aback by in his performance as like the person George Clooney, but also as Jay Kelly. And it's sort of in a contradict. It shouldn't work that well. I told you this after Venice. It is so incredibly cheesy.
yeah,
And
exactly.
I was pushing back on it for like the first 20, 30 seconds. I kept thinking, wait, what's this choice? And then I found myself like my hair stood up, and I got a lot of hair everywhere on my body. It was like I got chills. I can't remember the last time I got chills so much as in that Venice screening room. And I was like, this shouldn't work, but it moved me in sort of a like I can't really describe why, but it felt like we were getting something true in that moment.
Yeah. I think it also helps that you have an actor like George Clooney who has a level of charm that almost no one else in the industry has. I do not think that montage works with many other actors. Like, I'm not saying with nobody, because that's bullshit. Like, just put, like, if you have De Niro, for example, in that role, or
which he also
watching
name
his
drops.
life. Yeah, exactly. Then obviously that works as well. But there are just, like, he has a certain level of charm. That's why it works. They are showing movies in that montage. By the way, like, there are a few movies that aren't in the montage that should be in the montage, where they probably just did not get the permission for. Let's be honest. We both were thinking that when watching it. Like, I feel like I was missing some movies there.
Do you know what to me was interesting? Because I've been recently to one of those honorary things, and it was literally for Robert De Niro in Gun.
Oh, yeah.
And it is quite interesting to see like an audience's reaction to it, how perceptive they are. It feels a bit random for it to be like in Tuscany, to be honest, for like his caliber of film star to be invited. But I guess it's just like, obviously I feel like they get this all the time.
That train ride from Paris to Cannes would just be too short, you know. Like, they need to go a bit further.
Yeah. It would be funny if they do it somewhere in Germany and they just don't get anywhere. The film ends at the train station because the fucking trains never leave.
Or like it's 2 hours too late. In that case,
exactly. They missed the whole thing. We haven't talked about like him, I guess, going after his daughter. Him like actively, breaking a bit of boundaries of privacy, just so he can chase after her. And it feels like that again he does more for the act of it all than for, like, he has no clue what he wants to say when he's actually in front of her. He thinks the act of, in the movie sense, of going after her in a private plane, getting on the same train as her, like that's adds anything to them. But like the way that his daughter kind of sees through that immediately and isn't like, oh, we're on the same train, in a way, like, because he have that access, it doesn't really mean much that he can do this with his whole entourage. So this is the wrong kind of showing up. And I don't know if he really learns in any way, because the way that it ends with his other daughter is that she says, I just won't be a part of your life. And it broke my heart, man. I mean, it's devastating.
The line that broke me, that you make other people happy, is believe what I said. Yeah, that was a line that really got me in that scene. But I also find it very interesting that the relationship with both of his daughters are in a different place. One says like, hey, I don't really have a space for you, and the other one says, like, the daughter on the train, like, she basically says like, we can still be in each other's life, but not on that level, or not in that way. So like, they are in a different place, like, where they're left at.
Yeah, because he was never able to meet them at their terms of what they needed. And it's also interesting that they put in that, like, his older daughter tried out to be an actress and that fucked her up. She didn't want to do it. And now he wants to shield the younger one which is something that, like, I don't know if that helps at all, because it's not one-to-one the lessons that you can learn that's ultimately going to turn out bad. I think what he needs to do is just be there for her. I think that's ultimately what his parenting needs more of. And I like this film a lot.
Have you seen there's a clip of Matthew McConaughey because his son plays in The Lost Bus, and when his son asked like Matthew McConaughey like, hey, if this role's still available, and then you have Matthew McConaughey like, yeah, sure, and like the next day the son asked again after that, and he's like, you really want to do this? And then like they sat down, like it's a very good video of how he explains it, because like he's just like, all right, fine, if you still want to go through with this after everything I told you and like what it's worth, and then which also makes me very happy that isn't necessarily a movie about nepotism, because like it easily could go in when she tells him like, hey, I want to study film, etc. It easily could be like, oh yeah, I can get you in that.
It's also the public isn't the sort of mob of people who either love or hate something. They're also not fully fleshed out people, but it's a sort of overall like perception at the level of the actual person it's about, what this is about. It's not, about the whole industry in that way. It is still about J. Kally very much. Like, I also wrote down this would fail the Bechdel test, but instead of talking, the women thing, it's just not talking about J. Kally, because in every scene, everywhere they always talk about him, always. There is no a single scene. No, I guess no. I was because I wrote it down when Laura Dern leaves, and I was thinking, oh, that's a scene that is like about the whole storyline is about these two people. But no, it is about him not being able to make place for himself outside of J. Kally, and that hurting his relationship with her. That's why they didn't work out. Overall, great recommendation overall from us. I would say I wouldn't be displeased if this makes it into the Best Picture 10. Might make it in it, might not. But I wouldn't be, mad about it at all. I feel like some people might be. They think it's very much Oscar bait. But
you know what movie it might I wanted to replace in the top 10? How about we kick that Wicked for good out of that top 10 Best Picture and replace with J. Kally? I like that would be on the same level as Maestro for me, but like I wouldn't be upset about it.
Yeah. And I can't talk about the status and the placing of Avatar because it's currently under embargo, but I have seen the film. I can't tell you more than that.
Okay.
If I would leave it in the Best Picture 10 or not.
Then don't.
I know. I don't want to be on the bad. Oh, you don't want to be on the bad side of Disney. Oh my god.
We're gonna talk about it in 2 weeks. No worries.
Exactly.
But yeah, in terms of if we're gonna talk about Oscar things, I think Frankenstein has cemented its place in the top
Oscar
10.
Things. Oscar, sorry. I thought you were making a transition there. Sorry,
no, I wasn't.
Okay.
But Netflix usually doesn't get that many spots in those Best Picture, like usually 2.
Yeah, I mean, House of Dynamite is out, right?
House of Dynamite is out, yeah. Knives Out.
I think maybe Train Dreams has a I don't know. J. Kally and Train Dreams are kind of interchangeable. I feel like one of the two makes it, but definitely not both.
But then to end this J. Kally, I would give it a 7.5 out of 10. I do have flaws with it. Those haven't gone away. I'm sorry, but the great moments are great. The low moments are quite a bit low, not the lowest of lows, but like quite low. So it isn't a perfect movie for me. But hey, just to feel the chills at the end, I would very much recommend it. It's a 7.5 out of 10 for me.
And I'd give it an 8 out of 10. I'm staying at my same rating. I think I was at a 7.5 as well and rounded it up.
I think you rounded up, yeah.
Venice. And like to me, another thing that was interesting about this is like, is it one-to-one a thing about Clooney's career? And it really isn't, because he got started in TV, had his breakout with ER, which like that TV show, and then made the transition. And his interviews are like almost as interesting as the movie itself when he talks about that. Like there's a bunch of good ones. I think one of the ones is with Letterboxd even. And he really got started in his mid-30s. It's very much a different approach. We don't get that much from J. Kally as a person as well. It doesn't feel like it's a character study.
It's not a character study, but it's a deep dive into a certain persona like that. Like it isn't a character study, yeah.
Yeah. And I think something that we also didn't mention is that it starts off with a quote from Sylvia Plath.
Oh
It's
yeah.
a hell of a responsibility to be yourself. It's much easier to be somebody else or nobody at all. And I think it definitely wrestles with that sort of self-perception of identity and being such a public figure that the public and the personal ones really perceive you very differently from you want to be at the core.
Which gets reaffirmed by his theater teacher,
Yeah.
I believe. Yeah.
Like, what do you want to be? And then I think it's really telling for this character that in the flashback, as his older self, his younger self, and his older self, when asked if he wants to really want to be a movie star, he says, "I do, I really do."
Also, I should mention Charlie Rowe, who plays the younger version of George Clooney. Stellar job. It is not easy to be an
I'm
earlier
so happy
version.
they didn't like DH or some stupid shit. That they just went with great performance. Yeah. Also think he like sorry, we're going full back. I don't want to go fully back into the review. Sorry, but I don't think he's like that bad for what he's doing on that casting thing, because clearly Timothy just kind of fucked it up as well. He wasn't getting the part, but he perceives it in the way that like he took it away from him. He took the opportunity of he took the opportunity that like he laid out for him. I don't think he took anything away from him. But yeah.
No. Round it up.
Round it up. Around the block.
I think
one more take.
I think this might be the longest we talked about a movie on the podcast so far.
Yeah, 2 episodes in. We can go further. I can tell you, I got even more in store.
I guess we're doing a quick intermission between reviews to shout out some smaller movies that we have seen. To be fair, we haven't had a full week since our last recording, so I haven't seen many movies that I could shout out. But one movie I can certainly shout out that unfortunately Ewan didn't see before this recording. Damn you! You better do you better do next week. All right. So you can shout it out as well.
Maybe.
Double shout out. All right. It's a movie called High Five, the South Korean movie. And it is, ladies and gentlemen, the best superhero movie of 2025. Yes,
what,
it is
better than Fantastic Four?
Better than Fantastic Four. Better than Superman. Better than Thunderbolts. All right. It is the best movie.
Better than Captain America Brave.
We do not talk about that one. That is the movie that shall not be named. But it is so funny. You will know what this means. But this movie doesn't go full escape into the 21st century level, but it oftentimes dips its toes in that territory. And it is so funny in terms of visuals, especially camera-wise. They're mixing a lot of like practical and digital things with like anime. It is very impressive. I laughed a lot with this movie. It is so entertaining. The humor, the use of superpowers is very clever. I definitely recommend High Five. That is high, so like high.
Dash, I think.
Dash.
Called, right?
It's not like high. It's like high. High.
It's also not high. Like
yeah. That's what I said.
Yeah.
Do you have any shout outs for me, my man?
I do. I'm just also, I was so close to asking you and comparing it to Escape from 21st Century, but then I was like, because it was also around the same time in the year that you ended up watching that. I was like, you sort of crave these different type of movies towards the end of the year
every
to
year.
make a surprise.
In 2023, it was Escape into the 21st Century. Last year, it was All the Long Nights, I believe.
Yeah. And which I still haven't seen.
You still haven't. You should. Honestly, you still owe me a movie to watch from the Oscars that I won. Maybe it should be All the Long Nights, you know? Maybe
oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, better you pick a movie that I'm looking forward to seeing other than like watch fucking Tron Ares again or something like that.
I would never do that to you. You know.
Oh, that's really nice of you. Also, on a final note for High Five, sorry, I'm not able to keep any of these segments brief, is that it premiered at the Swiss Film Festival. The NIF, the Neuchâtel International Fantastic Film Festival, which I haven't gone to, but I really should. They're the one that help run that like 8 hours of horror thing where they do 4 surprise horror films on Halloween all throughout the night when like the daylight savings times change.
You do better. You should have seen this movie before me.
I should have seen it in July when it premiered in Switzerland. Because I was wondering, can we shout it out in a way that like people can see it already, and it doesn't have a VOD release date yet, but I guess you'll shout it out again when it comes out on VOD, you know.
And you're gonna shout it out next week when you see it.
Well, in the meantime, I technically I think I'm not allowed to talk about it until like next year, but I've seen Hamnet.
Next year.
So yeah, I don't know why it's out in the States, and then some of my colleagues who were at the press screening as well. You know, you go to a press screening and they make you put your phone into like a bag. And because it was too, I also saw Song Sung Blue, which I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about that. I'll just keep it safe and not talk about it. But it was 2 Universal screenings back to back. So I had to put my phone into a bag, and then there was like a 30-minute break. So I got out, still had the thing. So I came back in, had another spare thing to put it into. So I double bagged my phone. And like some other person in the screening looked at me funny. I was like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Oh, I got to protect from the radio waves." And she didn't
the
find that funny at all.
The funniest thing to me about those bags is that people can still access their phone to those bags.
Yeah. And we were in. Well, no. The thing is, I used to have it once in one of those in the new IMAX theater here in Switzerland, and they have like a charging pod next to your chair. And I had it in the bag and just put it onto the thing because I was on low battery and it was charging through it. But this time with Avatar, I had to leave my phone outside. I had to leave it outside. I wasn't. I was.
They're getting better. They're getting smarter.
I don't think it's better, man. It's not like at press screenings you'll see someone filming the thing, because they also have security people like patrolling and sometimes walking in front of your. It's so annoying. It's way better from the side when they have like the little lasers in Venice. Yeah. So yeah, it's just a rule by the parent company. But yeah. Anyways, Hamnet. This has I feel like I don't want to say what's so great about it. I also feels like I haven't read it yet because I've just been listening to the audiobook and occasionally just go in and sort of read the one or other page.
So
I haven't done that yet. But before our review of it, when we get around to it, when you finally see it, I will make sure to have read it by then. It is, I don't think overall, I don't know if I'm breaking the embargo, but it is overall, I think, a really solid film. But it has sort of the concluding minutes of it all. Some of my favorites in any film ever. You know, last year when we joked about like it being in the top 20 of all, this is a top 5 contender of how hard it made me cry, how much it made me feel, how much I'm still thinking about it, like every hour or so. Even at night, I keep thinking about it. It's really good. And now I'm obviously overhyping it, and you're expecting something big to happen towards the end. I'm sorry that I'm doing that to you, but I feel like it's already been talked about so much. Jessie Buckley should win the Oscar for this. She is incredible. Paul Mescal is like a level below her, but that's just because she's so great in it. And yeah, Shakespeare, man. Or I guess Shakespeare's wife. Anyway, this is not Shakespeare's wife. This is his son. Not to confuse people too much, but great book and great movie that hopefully we get in theaters sooner than later, and in the States, I guess it's already out.
It comes out 21st of January here, so again, like we will do our best of 2025 before the end of the year, but we're definitely going to do an updated version of it the end of January, February, whenever we have seen Hamnet, Marty Supreme, all those movies that spilled over into the next year. And they always do, and I fucking hate it.
They do. Something that's going to wrap up before the end of the year is the Apple TV Plus show Pluribus that's currently screening and is having a 10-episode first season. It's the latest show from Breaking Bad and Better Call Paul. Yes, Better Call Saul. Showrunner Vince Gilligan. I got there, yeah. And I got some screeners. I've seen up to episode 7, and episode 6 is out right now. I'm not doing it. You should thank me for that. But yeah, it's great. I'm looking forward to I feel like it's one that's worth catching up with. And so that's a quick shout out. And then I also Train Dreams is on Netflix, one movie that sort of came out before we put this podcast back on. Otherwise, we would have had an in-depth conversation about it as well. Maybe we'll have one
I still haven't seen
in our end of the year list once you've seen it as well, and maybe we'll do a spotlight review in an upcoming episode. Like just some quick shout outs of things that are on VOD and stuff that we've mentioned before on the show is Little Amelie and Köln 75 is now on VOD. Die My Love, which I'm just holding up books today, is on Mubi, and Chainsaw Man Reziak on Premium VOD. Those are all available on Tuesday, December 9th. Keeper as well, but I feel like both of us not liking it, we're not really recommending you go see that. But these are the films we sort of recommend you go check them out if you're interested. So that was the intersection of Spotlight, which was short and brief and not.
It's the quiet on set Spotlight.
It's like a spotlight like this, on and off, and for us it's like a fucking Zack Snyder like slow
we are
motion
flickering
thing.
the lights. Yeah.
Yeah.
Next up, we're going to 1943 to a little bar with Lawrence Hart.
Blue Moon. On the evening of March 32nd, 1943, legendary lyricist Lawrence Hart confronts his shattered self-confidence in Sardi's bar as his former collaborator Richard Rodgers celebrates the opening night of his groundbreaking musical hit Oklahoma! Kevin, you got to see this in a festival. I got to see it as a sort of little private in-house screening here in Switzerland, and then it has since then dropped on VOD a bit more sooner than expected, honestly. It's the second film of the year from Richard Linklater, who also made Nouvelle Vague, which premiered in Cannes. I also liked that one quite a bit. I think you've seen it as well, right? You enjoyed it? It was all right. This one is definitely a more liked film of his because you can definitely feel that this has been in the works for a while. He's been refining, tuning this in a way where Ethan Hawke is sort of relied upon so much that it needs to be perfect. Otherwise, if it's off in places, the whole thing falls apart, right? So what did you think about Blue Moon?
Blue Moon, I watched it twice in theater. I was very happy with the fact that when I saw it had English subtitles and not like Dutch subtitles or French subtitles, because this dialogue in this movie is delicious. Finger licking good. That's how good this dialogue is. And if it was in any other language, perhaps things would have gotten lost in translation. Maybe the people know, maybe they don't. I am working on a montage. I have put a certain sentence of Blue Moon in the montage because I love it so much, and I have rewatched that section in the montage about 100 times. I am not joking. I love the line he says in that so much.
How you holding up?
You know how in marriage they say for better or for worse? I think in terms of my life, I have entered the for worse part. And it happened so quietly, I didn't even recognize it. Have you ever felt that way?
Every day of my life.
Sometimes I think even God is finished with me. I've had my hits. I've loved a small, dear collection of people. And now he's turned the page. I feel superannuated.
Superannuated? That's a good thing, isn't it?
It means your dick doesn't work.
Must be why I don't know that word.
But let's start from the beginning. All right, this movie is mostly one location movie. There's a little part before it that is exterior, and the part where he basically walks into the location. Those are the only part that is outside. The way the movie is presented is very like theater-like, which makes sense since most of the topic of this movie is talking about theater and the state of theaters, particularly in 1943, because they're talking about Oklahoma, and you got Lawrence Hart, who is absolutely shredding the musical Oklahoma to pieces. I mean, basically shitting on it, and that's where the most interesting part of this movie comes forward. Is like when he's talking about things. He's not romanticizing about it. He's being very realistic about it, because we're in this stage where Oklahoma is a very inoffensive musical, and he's basically saying like, no, we need to push the art form. We don't need to stay safe. Like, I want satire, I want humor, I want romance, etc. So you sort of have this realism that Lawrence Hart is pushing forward, and he's basically getting pushed back on it. But hey, they're all praising him as a genius, but there's also sort of saying like, hey, you were born at the wrong time. Maybe if you were born a few years later, you would actually be able to do what you want to do. And then we got Ethan Hawke, whose performance I can only really describe with one word, which is he has a certain type of grandeur about him, which is quite funny because in reality, he's actually the smallest person in the room, but oftentimes at the same time also the loudest person in the room. I love Blue Moon. It tackles so much a story about art criticism, about romanticism, about pushing the art form forward, and so many things more. Ewan, I'm gonna give the word to you now because I actually have talked about this movie quite a bit. And when I did, you didn't even watch the movie yet. So
I was, oh my god,
the
I
floor
was so
is
heartbroken.
yours.
Because I didn't know when I was gonna have the chance to finally see it myself, so I
A
was
few days
very
later.
happy. And not that far, yeah, not that far. Like I'm so privileged, honestly. But I, to me, it's like the whole thing, like you said, it is like it could be performed on stage. It's all taking, and even to like a bigger extent, in a way, in theater you can change locations, but it stays in that one location. And basically, the whole movie is just monologues from Ethan Hawke as Lawrence Hart and a few interactions that he has. But then, just as much as he's talking, he is listening. And that is, to me, why a character like this that is constantly complaining about everything is actually endurable. Although he's very off-putting visually, like the way that they keep... Ethan Hawke is such an attractive man. So to make him look like the least attractive, but also the person you want to have a hour-long conversation with is, that's like it shouldn't be a given. But Linklater makes that alongside Ethan Hawke makes that so smooth, so not even a question. That you'll be entertained. I was entertained by this film more than most action movies in the year, where I was glued to the screen of how eloquently, see, I can't even, I would be out. He would say, oh, shit, you don't got the chops, man. So eloquently, he can just put his sort of frustrations with the world. And sometimes they are on the verge of like it being too constructed and too concise, but then he keeps romanticizing things as well, where you see like, ooh, this is you're going into creepy territory, the way that you like overdo some things. So it's not an idealization of, an artist, a tortured artist that is a critique of the current media landscape and calls it out for its shortcomings and how it is simply there to entertain and distract and not to be art itself. It's like, we are wrestling with that to this day, of how it often can be a distraction in a good or bad way, but he advocates for, if you make it all about it just being a distraction, you're losing the substance of being able to enjoy art and to connect it back to your life. If all you do is distract, what are you distracting yourself from? You're just ignoring the reality around you. And for that, he's so perceptive of what the truth around him is, because he is such a good listener. And I believe that he is this great artist because of that. You can see him go on to a spiel of the monologues and everything. And when he's confronted later on, which, slight spoiler here, definitely go, I don't know if it's a spoiler, but when he talks with Richard Rodgers, he basically tells him like the reasons why they're not working anymore is not because he's tried to move on from him and do different things. It's because of how self-destructive Lawrence was as well with his alcoholism and like that.
His way of working, yeah.
His way of working, right? It is destructive in a way. So I also don't fault someone like Richard Rodgers, who's like the Oklahoma thing is made into a punchline of like, oh, something that needs an exclamation mark really has nothing to say at all. And shouldn't even exist. I can see why it still needs to exist, because we can't all be consumed so much by the shortcomings of the world that it destroys us, that like a year later from when this takes place, he dies. He died. He didn't.
Not even a year, like 7 months.
7 months later, yeah.
Yeah.
Outside of a bar, I believe as well, right? And also
like
from
an alleyway, yeah.
And I found that like his way of speaking was like urgent at all times for everything that he had to say. It was infectious in a way in his energy, but also infecting in a way where it feels like he's leeching onto things maybe a bit too much. But then also his energy in a positive way is like you get the full spectrum of him as this like sort of very outgoing person in a way that then as soon as he's confronted with actually confronting someone, he can't help but just be a bit more passive aggressive. He can't like say what he actually wants to the people. He can just kind of rant about it to others. And you wanted to talk about Bobby Cannavale as well, right?
Yeah,
in the way
I do.
that he's such a
so
great
badly.
listener. Yes. Yeah, throw it back to you.
Because
Sorry, you go.
as you're talking about that distraction, because he, like Lawrence Hart, like Ethan Hawke's character, has said to Bobby Cannavale, like, I do not give me alcohol under any circumstance. But like at certain points, he's so hesitant, and Lawrence Hart is like, he's so good at reining you in that you just can't help but do what he wants essentially after. And that's where Andrew Scott's character, Richard Rogers, like he's really trying to push back on that. He's like, no, I do not want to work that way anymore. Bringing it back to Bobby Cannavale, he's such a good listener, and they're also on the same wavelength. When they're talking about Casablanca in the beginning, I must admit, I have not seen Casablanca. I am so sorry. So those references I did not get. But when they both say, like, nobody ever loved me that much, when they say that in the beginning, and it gets dropped again at the end, and after we've been through this whole journey, oh man, like that felt like the final nail in the coffin of the character that is Lawrence Hart, of the person that Lawrence Hart is. And we have a few, like I will say there are a lot of theater references that I do not get. I am not a theater geek. But for the people that are, they will definitely have, a lot of Easter eggs like, oh my god, the little kid. Do you know who the little kid is? It's Sondheim. Oh my god. It's like that whole thing. Yeah.
There's a bit of that in there. Like, it is a bit laughable. I don't consider it a spoiler that like his interaction with E.B. White basically gives him the idea.
I was gonna mention him as well. Yeah.
It is a bit odd. It's like, oh, have you thought about emotion?
But I will say, I don't think I've seen any other performance in terms of screen presence this year so far than Ethan Hawke. Because when he's telling that story about the mouse, it's like you can't feel but like put a chair next to him and keep on listening.
I've heard
to him.
people say that like Ethan Hawke has in his roles a slight tendency to be this a bit more jovial, a tiny bit overacting in a lot of ways. That's just sort of his personality seeking through, and the way that if you've listened to him in interviews, it's like that's sort of the energy that he can very naturally bring to characters. I wouldn't describe it as overacting at all.
No.
Like especially not in this role, but like I've heard that a bunch of people mention it in conjunction with this movie, that like that energy kind of works perfectly for Blue Moon. But I think it's just like he's very mendable as an actor. He can do a lot, and especially the charming parts of actually saying something. That's what if you like. I'm an addict to listening to Ethan Hawke speak about anything. He's such an interested person. So if he was the pairing with Lawrence Hart in this, is sort of just kind of perfect. It works out so well.
While you were talking about that, I wanted to shout out a certain video of him, because it's funnily enough, it's on the TED channel when they do TED Talks. It's on the TED, and it's like, give yourself permission to be creative. It's like
the creative one, yeah. That gets shared around all the time.
It's like 9 minutes and 15, and when you see and hear that video, you sort of can't help.
Honestly, in the whole history of man, I'm going that far. That's a top 5 video of all time. It is that good. I fucking love that. I go back to it like every month or so. It is great. It's one of my favorites.
We haven't talked about one specific person yet, which is Margaret Qualley's character. Yeah, you love her. I do. But I do love her more for Death Stranding than you more for The Substance.
Yeah, I guess. No, I don't know. There's other roles of hers.
Oh, also, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I just haven't played Death Stranding, so I couldn't really say if I like her or not.
Sorry.
She was in the second or in the first one?
She was in the first one. But Margaret Qualley in this role, like some people are saying like, oh, she's just sort of playing herself, which I don't...
Can I say something? I fucking hate that criticism. How the fuck do you know what they're like? You don't know them. You don't fucking know them. Like, we just spent an entire hour talking about Kally. You don't fucking know these people. Stop saying they act too much like themselves. You don't know them. So I had to get it out.
I feel like this needs to become a short. You just ranting.
Sure, yeah.
But obviously, like, some people could say, like, oh, Margaret Qualley's playing the stereotypical blonde girl who is chasing something, and she's chasing that something to Lawrence Hart, which is also, that's definitely
Wrong.
a commentary. No, but like, I'm not saying those people don't exist, but it's definitely like a commentary on people that do that sort of thing. But in the end, she isn't a person like that. Sure, she leaves the bar with someone else maybe that evening, and maybe she goes on to do great things because of that connection. But when she is in that closet with Ethan Hawke and they're having that conversation that is sort of Lawrence Hart's final nail in the coffin, like, it is devastating stuff. And you can't have that stuff as devastating if you do not perform it that well, which Margaret Qualley definitely did for me.
I mean, you got a young woman who wants to be in the industry, and the gatekeepers of that industry are old white men, and that's sort of her entryway. And it's not like she's playing the system, even if she were. Like, that's her in. Like, there's no place in this patriarchal structure, even more so in the 40s, to, like, you need to be on good terms with these people, otherwise you're not getting anywhere. And I feel like she's not. The heartbreaking thing about, like, the longer conversation that she has with Lawrence Hart is not that she's, like, using him. It's how much he wants out of her, how much his sort of happiness is contingent on, like, her happiness or, like, what she's doing,
and vice versa. Exactly, yeah.
And it puts so much, and she appreciates him for being a good listener. And I think it also, like, there's so much in there that, like, you could jump to and placate something. Oh, there's something problematic about, like, the way that they, like, no, all of those things are, like, in the way that they interact with each other. I feel like there's a push and pull, a dynamic that is uneven, but that's what it's about. And it feels like it is getting to a reality here that extends the movie frame of, like, they got this and that relationship because of one or two interactions that they've had with each other, and they reference a few more in the way that you can maybe read into them of, like, no, you can feel a whole, like, relationship there, and that is really impressive. And it speaks to, I feel like this movie, to me, if I had a pick, this would win best screenplay. It is, like, that well written.
Obviously, this movie is also based on the letters that Margaret Qualley's character, Elizabeth, is her name Garland? I thought it was something else.
I thought it is Elizabeth Garland. At least it's
Elizabeth Wyland. It's Elizabeth Wyland.
Wyland,
sorry. So this movie is based on letters between Lawrence Hart and Elizabeth Wyland, which is also why this movie might have it has this feeling of being so personal, because if this movie was based from a biography, like, it perhaps you wouldn't know the character that well. So when it's based on letters, I presume it's way more personal, and you get way better of a vision of who this guy is.
Or how maybe Richard Linklater perceives him to be also. In this. He becomes, in a way, larger than life. In a way, like, how much
larger
he
than himself, for
about.
sure. That's not hard to do.
Yeah, because he's short.
Yeah, because he's short. I mean, some people also have commentated on if him being short works, because, like, Ethan Hawke is basically also doing a sort of physical performance that maybe because all of his juicy dialogue and the way how he delivers it, some people might not notice, but he's definitely doing a lot on the physical front as well. Making himself smaller than he is in that huge jacket next to.
In a more subtle note, when he's the most confident, when he's the most outward going with his opinions, he's sitting down and he's on eye level with most of the other people. Or, like, someone's looking down on him because he's standing and he's sitting. But as soon as he's standing, you can feel that, like, there's a part of his, like, he's less sure of himself as well, right? And that it is impressive to do how, like, smoothly, how rich this movie is with how much there is in there about like this character Lawrence Hart in as little screen time that he doesn't get a little screen time. Actually, it doesn't work at all. He's basically in the whole movie. He's talking all the time. There's no scene without him, I think. But yeah.
But honestly, this movie, I love it. I love it so much. I recommend it for everybody. I know it might be a tough watch for some people because it is a one location movie. It is very much all dialogue. There's no action happening. Even that is sort of a spoiler, I guess.
Yeah, and I mean, and also some people who might get uncomfortable with uncomfortable scenes of like someone just talking over and over again, I feel like could be triggering to some people.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't stop talking. He is quite off-putting in the way that he interacts, where it feels like narcissistic, and he definitely is a narcissist in a way.
Oh
as
yeah.
well, but in the same way, he's so just a good listener. Like I don't know. It's something about him in a lot of ways, stuff that balances it out, and then you notice under the surface, he's someone who's not balanced at all. In he can do some things, like he can articulate himself very well. He can't care for himself at all, and that's a heartbreaking thing.
This movie is also definitely an ode to all of those people, such as Lawrence Hart, that have been forgotten. Because when they're talking about Hammerstein and Rogers, who are the two people who have written Oklahoma, and they say they've gone on to have a successful partnerships. Well, that partnership wouldn't be there without Lawrence Hart. So you also have there are probably a lot of people, artists, musicians, name it, such as Lawrence Hart, that have been forgotten through history.
It also made me think of Jonathan Larson. As well, who got his stories told with Tick Tick Boom, died at 36 or 40, 45 actually.
Yeah, so this movie is definitely a letter to those kind of people as well, yeah.
Yeah. A love letter that we'll both sign and make sure they'll get it just in time.
I know this movie comes out for me here in Belgium the 12th of January, so it definitely will get some theatrical releases around the world. But it's already on VOD for some people that cannot wait and need more Ethan Hawke in their life.
Especially if you want to be up to date with the films that can get into Best Picture and get acting nominations. Blue Moon is among those that definitely should be seen there.
I really hope he makes
outside chance that he gets in. I don't know how it's pretty stacked in the lead acting performances, but it doesn't matter if he doesn't get nominated. He definitely has a vote for
every year, like for me, the biggest snub of all time is still Joaquin Phoenix for Come On. Like that.
Yeah, that was a big one, yeah.
Like that great of a performance that didn't get nominated. I do fear that Ethan Hawke might be disused, but I hope it's not. That's not the case.
I also think Lee Byung-hun from No Other Choice gives a phenomenal performance in the movie.
Same.
That I would recognize. That's just not happening, but we'll talk about that.
Yeah, because they're mostly doing one international performance, and like Wagner Moura is already a lock-in sort of. So yeah.
Yeah, the tariffs are too high for imports of foreign performances for the States. They can't afford it.
Well, I give it a 9 out of 10. I would honestly give it a 9.5 out of 10 if I could. Maybe I will. No, what? I will.
What?
Yeah, I do love Blue Moon. It's one of my favorites this year. Where it goes in the top 10, 5,
You'll
3?
find out in about 2 weeks' time.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it's soon. For me, it's also a 9 out of 10 and a wholehearted recommendation. It currently does not have a local release date for me here, so I will directly direct you to the VOD side of this film that you can watch it digitally, which I think doesn't really take away from it because it's not a very cinematic movie. It's like a lot of it is talking, so I feel like it's fine.
That is what I told Luca, because he was like, "Are you sure you can wait? Like, it isn't necessarily a movie you have to see in theaters." But he was like,
"Yeah, the action scene at the end in the post credits where they attack the whole cast and crew of Oklahoma and like tear down the exclamation mark." For that, you definitely have to. Or if you go watch the whole bloody affair, the 4.5-hour recut of Quentin Tarantino's Kill Bill, you can see it. Stay after the credits to go see an exclusive added scene fully animated in Fortnite.
Let's move on. Let's move on. Let's actually move on. I do not have energy for the shit you just said. I do not know.
Are you going to see the whole bloody affair?
You know what's the whole bloody affair? He's top 20, but we're not going to talk about that. Alright, next up, we got the left-handed girl. A mother and her 2 daughters moved to Taipei to open a noodle stand at a vibrant night market. But family secrets and tradition test their fresh start. It debuted in the Cannes Critics Week. It was chosen by Taiwan as the Oscar pick. The look, it's shot on iPhones. I believe it was shot in July of 2022 in Taipei. It's inspired by Tsu's personal experience of using her left hand. She's been working with Sean Baker since 2004's Takeout. In 2010, they had a script ready but couldn't get it financed, scouted locations, and kept in touch with the night market vendors. We need more films like this. I think that is a line that Ewan wanted to say, but I stole it from him.
No!
The left hand. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, you are like a left hand to me. You know, if you say someone is your right hand man, you're my left hand man. You just grab the things that I wanted to say. This is an amazing movie that I sort of praised coming out of Cannes. I had a great time with it there, watching it in a packed theater at like the very back end of the theater. I was like crammed into a corner and got to experience this. And it is surprisingly cinematic, right, for a film that is shot on an iPhone. That is, I feel like, dynamic in the way where the camera is constantly moving in a way that is very natural to as young as a performer as Ai Jing is. I don't know, the kid in the movie. She is can't be more than like. So I was about to say 6, 7. It's like 8 years old or something.
I hate you.
I honestly, I was like, as soon as I wanted to say it, I made the connection.
Second time.
Before no.
Like last week you did this as well. Now again.
I know I'm not doing it anymore. But she is like 6, 7, 8 years old, and what, man? It is infected. It's like the Austrian. It's actually the Austrian word of the year is 6, 7, which doesn't make any sense.
But the kids here voted this year word of the year as well.
it's spreading all over. But no, it has one of our favorite brief scenes with an animal in a movie as well. It has some great dynamics generationally from sort of young daughter to teen to the mother and her mother as well. And you feel a lot of like the sort of surrounding like cityscape and how quickly you move through that, reflected in the editing. That in this film we jump around in time quite a bit without any indication of an hour being passed or like 3 months, honestly. Like sometimes it just kind of jumps around, but it all feels very natural in the way that we follow this family returning to Taipei after having been away for a bit and trying to open a noodle stand at the night market, which you mentioned in the introduction for the film, is something that they kept going back to right after they were trying to get this movie done for a while. They had these connections, and honestly, I was wondering during the film why we spend as much time and scenes that are longer at the nightstand that didn't feel like at the noodle stand that didn't feel like they had that much of an impact. They were just also sometimes the hangout slower scenes happened there, and then the more kinetic ones happen in other places. But yeah, what did you think of Left-Handed Girl?
I love this movie. Watched it at Film Fest again. Adored it. Was very happy to see it on the big screen. I believe it's out in theaters in Belgium this week.
Oh yeah, we didn't say it's streaming on Netflix. Obviously, it's
also streaming on Netflix.
Yeah, forgot to say that.
Yeah, I love this movie. I have a hot take.
Noodle hot take?
I think this movie is better than any of Sean Baker's movies.
Oh, that is,
I
wow.
know.
Straight out of the oven, you're roasting the baker.
And I will tell you why.
Mm-hmm.
Sue keeps this movie quite contained, whereas Sean Baker always does a huge swing between his second and third acts. in Anora, it's sort of when they go on the hunt and when the comedic bits, are starting to add up to each other. That's for me the big swing that sometimes hits, sometimes misses, and he's had it in every of his movie that I've seen. Florida Project, Red Rocket, Anora. I haven't
also
seen
gotta interject
Tangerine.
really quickly. I feel like this film also has way more likable characters than any of the
Fair.
Sean Baker's films, right? They're a bit.
And the fun thing is, Sean Baker's still very much involved in this movie. I believe he is he's the co-producer, he's the writer, he even edited this movie. So he's very much involved in this one. But I think the direction and whereas this movie goes wild, or like at least out there at the right time. So like it didn't feel like a momentum break or a something that's just out of nowhere. I mean, it's sort of out of nowhere, but it's brought in the right way. And I've never had that feeling with Sean Baker. Like, I like sometimes what he does with his swing. It just doesn't always hit. And for me, this one hit.
Mm-hmm. It's also him as an editor. Maybe he also was the composer and sound designer. Or like, because he basically puts in like this sort of, not a beat, like this sort of repeated melody that seems like it could have been a copy of a Mark Rober YouTube video. The dum, 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 like that. But it just kind of perfectly fits. I feel like one of the great things about Sean Baker is that he can have a long scene like the one in Anora that doesn't really break the location, but still be sort of perfectly like really well cut together from the performance that vary in like how much actual acting experience they have, and maybe that also speaks to the cinematography that somehow that like they get what they need out of it, so it kind of works out in unison. And I think this works out here really well as well, where a lot of times they shoot it just guerrilla style. I don't think they don't close down anything. They just kind of, I mean, in certain places they obviously they do in the sort of
I think there are a few times
locations
where you see extras looking at the camera or like what they're doing, but it's also quite convenient that their market like vendor thing is like placed in a side street. I think that definitely helps if you want to shoot it guerrilla style. But you were talking about the DOP, like the cinematography. I love the cinematography. There are actually two DOPs that are like Kao Tsu-hao and Shenko Shin. I am sorry if I butchered your names, but like they did stellar work.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen Taipei Suicide Story, but I think that movie is also quite well shot. One's from 2020. I've seen that one as well, and I like it's a bit more, I guess, like still cinematography. That there's not a lot of movement, and there's so much movement in Left-Handed Girl. It felt like an ever-flowing stream of just this family's life. That it felt like something was constantly happening, although there was a ton of repetition in what they're actually doing. And it sort of makes you really familiar with the dynamics that they have with each other, the sort of frustrations that don't really get addressed. And ultimately, I feel like I don't even want to say maybe some of the concluding things about this film, because I feel like a lot of people haven't seen this yet. There's only 26,000 logs on Letterboxd so far, which this should be a 100,000 logs film at least. Definitely should be up there. I'm surprised, honestly, it isn't, because Sean Baker's name is adjacent to it. Yeah. But I like the part of the name, the title giving sort of theme of this film is this youngest character who I feel like the story is ultimately about, of how you parent her, how you are there for her, who is there for her, and at a young age how she's influenced by the behavior around them. And one of the things, like, her granddad is basically saying like, oh, you are using your left hand, that's bad. And what she takes away from it is that her hand is like the hand of the devil. So when something bad happens, like there's something that happens that is, she doesn't believe it straight away, but then something, happens that she's like, oh, that must have been because I used this hand. But because she's doing everything with it, as soon as something bad happens, she now believes that, oh, that must have been it. And it takes a while for others around her to notice like the sort of behavior that she has. with her hand. It's just like, oh, she's just a girl doing whatever. She's just playing something, or And then I think what this movie does, it somehow feels like a hangout movie as well in a way. Like the tension aren't as high, even though they are really high in the way that like we the relationships within this family who you want to be good. But then you notice like the older generation from the mom character and on, her mom is honestly up there as like, one of the worst movie moms of the year in my opinion. Like she's really, I really didn't like, I don't know how you felt, I really didn't like this woman. I thought she was so self-obsessed. Like in parts I was like, I understand, you want some things to be about you, but I don't know, I didn't like her at all. I don't know, how did you feel?
I think every character is to like and to dislike.
Yeah.
And that's what makes them human. That's what makes them great to watch. Like, I wouldn't say I straight up disliked anyone.
No, I disliked her, but maybe that's just me projecting onto...
I will say I like Johnny. Johnny, because he's the market vendor next door, right? That guy did not sell a damn thing. I don't think he made.
And he keeps giving out stuff for free as well. He's definitely, I don't know how he's making ends meet.
Yeah, but honestly, I don't really want to say much more because this movie is definitely a bit of a slice of life movie, and this movie certainly has reveals. I will say for any one that's listening, this movie has some reveals that even I, as the movie veteran, I will say, did not see coming. So that's always great to have something like that to look forward to. Like if someone said that about a movie, I would get very excited. So I'm hereby saying it about this movie in the hope that there are people that are gonna seek this movie out.
And it's a type of reveal that completely makes sense.
Yeah.
As soon as you see it, and you're like, I would have never called that out. I would have never perceived or seen the movie that way.
But
and
now
then
all
I
the puzzle
rewatched
pieces
it,
are
and the
clicking
way
into
that
place. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I see it like it works out perfectly, and I think it's ultimately, to me, I was like in parts I was thinking that it's I don't really see what's the tension here. Sometimes it is, like you said, it is a slice of life. But then it felt like, no, it's not over dramatizing things that don't need to be over dramatized. The drama doesn't need to just be inflicted into the story for no reason whatsoever. And I can't really say it without spoiling it, but I think the center of what I think this movie ends up being about is it's great. I like it a lot. I think it has a great focus that it ends up pulling. Although I don't think there's a lot of focus pulling that happens, because I think most of it, like some of it, I think is shot on autofocus. I believe. I don't know. Maybe I don't know if it was this movie, but I had some notes that like somewhere. But ultimately, I think one of the opening shots, one of the first shots is like the little kid looking through a kaleidoscope, and like the POV of that. So it's as playful with perspective with the POV of a kid, and this like uplifting percussion, like electro music that like eases you into the story. And it just kind of stays on that energy on that level throughout the whole film.
I absolutely recommend it. Probably one of the greatest. Like, again, I'm gonna advocate for it because I do it every year. There needs to be an Oscar category for best animal actor.
Meerkat.
The meerkat would be in here,
Yeah.
Give some recognition to these damn animals. Like I will say, the dog of Good Boy would win. Panda from The Love That Remains would be close, like second, and then you got the meerkat from The Left-Handed Girl. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I gave this movie 9 out of 10. It is one of my favorites of this year. Where it goes on the ranking, you'll see in 2 weeks.
Exactly, and I also give it a 9 out of 10, and it's one of those recommendations where you're like not wondering, when can I see it, where can I see it? Someone in your life has a Netflix subscription, even if you don't have any. And now they also have Warner Brothers. Wow, even more. But they also have Left-Handed Girl, So you should go watch it there if you can.
And if it's not on Netflix, then it should have a theatrical distribution, because otherwise it will be on Netflix, I assume.
Right, yeah. I don't, yeah. Because when you scroll down on Letterboxd on the release forms and you go to digital, and it's just like it lists every country in the world for it to be on Netflix. So I don't know if they had like an international release.
Well, for me it is. So I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah, goes. I mean, it's also a movie worth seeing on the big screen for sure.
Exactly, because it's so vibrant. Love letters, or also the Preuves d'amour. That is also the reason why you want me to introduce it, because I speak French way better than him. The Preuves d'amour. Oh my god, you're getting better. I'm so proud of you.
Ouais, je suis content. Avec mon français.
Celine is expecting her firstborn, but she's not the one who is pregnant. In 3 months, her wife Nadia will give birth to their daughter. Under the gaze of her friends, her mother, and the law, Celine looks for her place and sense of legitimacy. It's directed by Alice Douard. It's the first movie of hers I've seen. I think.
Yeah, it's her directorial. No, it's not her feature debut, but she had 2 other movies that didn't really. They never got distribution.
Festival,
they never really if even they played at a festival, they really didn't get out there.
You've seen it in Cannes. I just seen it yesterday, 2 days ago. Yeah. So tell me, this is your movie. Go all in.
I'm going all in, and I'm bringing out the facts of like the background of all of this is sort of a period piece looking back at Paris in, I believe, March or April of 2014, a few months after the law for same-sex couples to be able to be married got voted in by the parliament. I was just interested to look at also some other countries and when they got around to implementing this sort of possibility for people, for everyone to get married. And I was surprised. Belgium was literally like, I think, the second or third country to
we're very progressive like that in it.
And I think in Switzerland it was like, it was so late, 2022. It was like July 1st, 2022. I remember when that was a vote a few years ago, and I was like, wait, we don't have that? That is fucking crazy. And this story is then about a sort of a soon-to-be mother that is still dependent. She got like one win in a way that she gets to marry her partner, but not maybe for the reason of they believe in marriage and they wanted to do this, but because it is a way for them to be a family, to adopt in a way that they don't want to adopt just another kid. They want to have their own kid. And the complications that come with that when Celine is not the one bearing the child. She basically, for the first year and a half, at least a year, she basically needs to be close to the kid and parent it, and then get, I believe, like 15 or 20 or 25 letters from people in her life that can say, 15 letters, to say that she's basically capable and good to adopt this kid, because being a partner with someone isn't enough to basically adopt a kid, because you need to spend time with them, even though you were part of like the whole pregnancy before. That to me was also curious, because you're basically like spending time with the kid as it's like, growing, but that doesn't count for anything. And then you're so dependent on other people in your life. That same validation that you need from the country, from the government to be able to marry, is then reflected in our society that has accepted that as but she still needs to get the okay, and like people perceive her that way when there's more scrutiny placed on her. And it's not really that much about like, the like how difficult that could be to get people to like, it's not about people being non-supportive for her. It is more about what that does to their relationship as well. And it also is very much just in a very French way, it's like a hangout film as well, right? It is just not really about like a concise plot that goes from beginning to end and then it ends, as much as it is just like giving us a look into this relationship for a period of time. Like, I don't know if it's that, I feel like that is particularly French, right? I've seen so many French films that feel that way, where it doesn't feel like we have a catalyst and then this sort of linear story structure, but more of like a vibe-coded hangout session, especially when it's about relationships. And I just found this movie really compelling, quite moving. I think Ella Rumpf is incredible as the lead performer. Monia Chokri also in, I guess, more of a supporting role. I had the opportunity to interview her a few years back, and just a lovely person all around. I really love that this movie exists, because it tells a story that maybe you anecdotally would, maybe if you have someone in your life who had like it went through sort of a similar experience, but otherwise we wouldn't really hear about these stories as directly, and I like it a lot for that reason. But you weren't as like, I really love this film. You had some shortcomings with it, so maybe you can tell me like what worked for you and what didn't work.
For me, there was a lot of potential left on the table, and I couldn't help but stop thinking. I couldn't help but think about Iranian cinema. Every year, like for the past, I think 5 years at least now, we've talked about Iranian cinema and how they hone in on a specific subject, and like because you could go very broad, but they always hone in on a specific subject, on a specific law, and like zoom in on that. And this movie half-asses it, and I'm not calling it a bad movie, but for me, this movie was way more in the vein of an L'attachement, like the movie we watched a few years ago, than like a thing like an Iranian French cinema movie, because we're opening on this law, the Taubira law, I believe, and like they're being called pioneers because they're one of the first to do it, and like that was the part where I'm most interested in. Like, okay, how is this process gonna go? Like, what are like? Oh, you need 15 written testimonials. All right, let's see how this is going to go. And as the movie goes on, all that stuff slowly starts disappearing, and it's like, man, because and there are like so many things, because for example, her mother is doing classical piano, then you got Celine who is a DJ, so you also got like two sort of genres clashing against each other, and it's like that's all like in the first half of the movie, and it's like wonderful stuff. Absolutely adoring it. I can see myself giving this a 9 out of 10 like you, or like I don't know what you did, but like I was loving it. I was locked in, and it's very interesting as well. Like for example, they're talking about they have to get like an open donor in Denmark. Okay, like all super interesting things. There's like a club scene, and there's like very harsh lighting at a certain moment, like you can see people white of like a camera light. That was a bit distracting. And then you also see like, okay, so at a certain point a character asks like, are you scared of having a kid or like adopting it, or like the other way around? That I found so much interesting. Then you got the sort of her taking care of her mother, which also reflects as people get older, you sort of have to take care of them like they're like a little kid. And those are all the things that I love. And then you just get some scenes where they're sometimes arguing for the sake of arguing in the movie. And those were the parts that like dropped it down for me. For example, when they are visiting the step family, now we have to have a family argument about this because they aren't used to it, even though we're like 4 years further already. And for example, with those 15 letters, like I would love if they if the gathering of the letters was way more incorporated in the movie, instead of this arguing for the sake of arguing, being at a bad place in the relationship. But hey, she stood up for me in a bar, and she punched the guy. Now we're totally good again. And those are the parts that I just those brought the movie down for me.
I honestly would say the way that the movie you just described to me in a way sounds like honestly a way lesser film than this is. But maybe that's just definitely like a personal preference. I'm about to fight you, Kevin.
Oh, fuck. Let's grab, bro.
Because ultimately, I don't think it is about a commodification of like the gathering of these letters. They're not going to be defined by that. This is not what the story is about. It's about becoming a parent. It's about being a mother and seeing your own mother and the unspoken. Like there's so many scenes where
then I wouldn't start with the way the movie starts, because I like you got me honed in.
But that's just context.
Yeah, but
and it adds the time frame of a year to a year and a half, which also to me was interesting because they never mention it could take up to 18 months. She always from there on out says it's going to be a year, right? She is like,
Yeah, but in the movie, you're also calling them pioneers, so that's why they're special.
Yeah,
so, like, I
but
want to see that
not-
experience a bit more.
Yeah, but then you're romanticizing what being
I'm
a
not
pioneer is.
romanticizing.
No, you are in a way because
Because also in a certain moment, like the mother asked, like, "Hey, do you need money?" And like even that could be because at a certain moment they're talking about the financial weight of this, and they already have like put a lot of money into this law at the start of this process. Like she had to give like what 3K or something. I don't remember. Like
2.5.
Like they're talking about the financial weight of this thing as well. So like, and it's
I know,
always
and
on the back.
one of the shortcomings was that they don't address their financial situations on more than just the surface level of it being referenced of like, no, I got work, but you that's an insight that I feel like was lacking. But ultimately, like how it ends, I do need to spoil it a bit with the letter from the mom that she reads, that she preemptively writes for her before the daughter is even born. Is that it's ultimately the struggle to become or to find yourself as a person, as a mom, is one and the same. It is to grow into it is not to be ready, but to just be open for it, and like seeing her own shortcomings in the way where I was being in the perspective of Ella at first. I was honestly like obviously on her side in the way that I just saw the mother as someone who wasn't there for her and who's very much just concerned with her own career and not being able to see the baggage. And when in further scenes it becomes apparent that she's very much aware of the resentment that Celine has for her in that way, and that she's like struggling to make good on that. I found a lot of that like really the core of the film, much more than the actual like love letters that she needs to gather. The sort of love letters that she's actually seeking is the one that would affirm herself to be a mother, more than this external factor for her to actually adopt the kid, because it doesn't ultimately matter, because she's the mother to her daughter. If it's like, you know, she's like yet, from the state, no, from the state doesn't, like, she is that mother. She is going to be that mother. If the state says she's allowed to or not, doesn't matter. It also doesn't matter if, like, in the grand scheme of things, if they're allowed to marry, if they want to like, they can be partners, and they are. Yeah. It's just the validation that you get on top of it, and from a state level, from a cultural level, and then I also think like certain scenes are just kind of then needed, right? That family scene where there's a bit of like a reluctancy for them to come to terms. It's definitely one of the rougher scenes, but it felt like it was like the dynamic between them as partners I found to be really interesting, where we don't get a lot of scenes where they just like, it starts out with them having a few moments where they're just like kind of hanging out in a way, and then it becomes more about the toll it has on them, where they get into more of like moments where they're fighting for no real reason other than like stuff that goes unspoken. I found it really rich in a thematic level that didn't really need the plot side or the historic side to be explored that much.
I will also say, because this is such a heavy dramatic movie, at some point they are going quite the comical route. For example, when they're both sitting at the doctor.
It's a comedy drama, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I didn't need a comedy. Like, I would have totally be fine with this being a drama on its own, much like L'Attachement, when she is with Erica, when she has to like sort of babysit for experience. And I also would have loved to dive more into the fact that she has all this family genetic baggage. That's also like, is she ever gonna have a kid? So I wanted more.
With all of those things, it wrestles like really deeply. I feel like we just fundamentally watched a different movie, although we, I guess, watched the same one. Well, you know, in our experience.
Yeah, well, that's the beauty of cinema, baby.
That is the beauty of cinema. I like, to me, in a non too, it's a bit of a front, but I feel like you just I can say it for once. I feel like you didn't get the movie. I'm sorry.
Well, no, but I also couldn't help but think about the movie Julian, which is about if you want to know about that, Julian is a movie about two women who want to get married in every country where they're allowed to. So those were like 22, but then one of them gets cancer of like at least like is dying basically. Is it cancer? I think it's cancer. Yeah, it's pancreatic cancer. I think in Julian, and I felt like that was a bit more effective than in here. And like if you combine those two movies in terms of like approach, I think it would have made for a better one. But
I just didn't need the drama. I just don't need the hardship that isn't just the part. Like I love.
But but for example, like a comical thing I like about is, for example, when they are talking about the name, and it's like, oh, we're talking about what is it?
Sybil Steyer, and it's SS,
and it's like SS, like fuck, like those are so.
They call him
like, I didn't need the guy in the bar being like sort of nagging her on her chest to punch it and like, oh, we're good now. Like those are the shortcomings I had that. But I love the beginning. I love the beginning because we were so focused
but
on it.
But the punch is like the reaffirmation. We are fine. I'm in your camp. But I also feel like that's the most hand-fisted, literally way of saying that. It's like one of the scenes where I could do without, definitely as well.
And again, I would have liked the things more of like you have the musical thing, the DJ, and the classical thing. Like there are many approaches that this movie could have had that would have improved on it. And I felt like they didn't take it.
Motherhood is it's the same ingredients but a different flavor, and her mom is the one on the piano and she's the one DJing. Like I see a lot of that like allegories are like left and right. They're like everywhere in this film.
I mean, in J. Kally, you could say that about fatherhood, but yeah. You know?
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Maybe I'm making too grand of sort of declarations for films that don't deserve it. I feel like this deserves one, and I wrote down at one point towards the end of the film that this would make a great double feature with sentimental value, because I feel like that parental relationship between her and her mother and the ones.
But
sentimental value.
That hits deeper. They dive deeper into that one. So
they do. Maybe it's just the preference. Also, I love French films. I love romantic. I love French films with a bit of romance, comedy, and drama. I feel like there's no country that does them better. Maybe Norway.
You're saying you're biased?
I am biased. I am biased. That but I love this. I think it's great.
I think it's good. Like it had the potential of being really good, but it's just sometimes loses its focus and like it's approaching something, and I'm like, oh, keep going in that direction, or like not keep doing it that way, and then they sort of like stray away from it. I do think there's a better movie in here. But I still really liked it. I still give it a 7 out of 10, a 3.5 out of 5, if you will. But like, I just felt for me there was like a lot of potential left on the table.
And I'm giving it the same rating that I think I'm giving it the same rating as I did back in May when I watched it at the Cannes Critics. What is that? I say that in Semaine de la Critique, is it in French?
Semaine de la Critique,
Critics Week. And it's also now out in Swiss theaters, also in German ones, and it's already been out in France. So we'll see if this gets a release date further down the line in the States. It was like, remember when we talked about L'Histoire de Suleiman, and then Suleiman's story, and that like didn't get a release until like 2 or 3 months ago in the States, and we talked about that like so long ago.
Can I just say, Suleiman's story, like, again, hones in on a subject sort of like Iranian cinema. Like, nah, but like, I'm saying...
I know. But I love how scattered it is to be a mother, because being a person and responsible for someone else is just as scattered as this. Like, to me, I connected with the sort of scatteredness of it all. Like, that worked for me thematically. But if it doesn't, I hear you, but also say, no, you don't understand the movie, Kevin. You didn't get it.
I love how this is our first fight. I feel like this is our first fight.
At least we are passionate enough
even though we're both positive about the movie.
Exactly. And I think I don't know if we'll ever have an episode as other than our best offs where we glaze the films as much as we did in today's episode, because legitimately, like the worst rating I gave today was an 8 out of 10. And I
7 out
don't
of
give
10
out
for
a
me.
lot of like and we don't give out a lot of like great ratings if the movie's
No.
not great. We're not overpraising these films just because we like praising stuff just for the like
We like
willy-nilly
highlighting
for it
stuff.
all.
That's what
Exactly.
we
We're
like to
highlighting, spotlighting even in this section.
do. Exactly.
So yeah, did I say 9 out of 10 for this one?
Yeah, you did.
Go check it out if you were in the 3 countries that it's currently out in, and I'll shout it out again once it's hopefully on VOD sooner than later.
And that wraps it up for the reviews and the news and the spotlights. Holy moly, this recording
And
will be over
my
2
day.
hours.
I will go
This-
to bed again, or I'll play on my Steam Deck something. I don't know. I'll punch
Excuse
someone.
me, you got to record this thing, innit?
Yeah, no, this still
and
needs to go out today. So, but in our preparations for next week, we have 2 movies on the schedule. Maybe we'll add the one or the other to it. That we talk a bit more expensive. I feel like 3 movies might be the sweet spot for us. Otherwise, it will be always over 2 hours. But next week we're talking about Knives Out, Wake Up, Dead Man. I've already seen that one as well. I definitely can recommend it. Worth checking out. We'll get a positive rating from at least my end, and then our spotlight film, which it deserves a main review as well. It will be
It
an
is.
elevated spotlight review.
Yeah.
For No Other Choice. One or number 2 pick coming out of Venice, one of the best films of the year, one that hopefully does get spotlighted not just by us but by the Academy with numerous nominations.
Exactly, and you are definitely watching High Five till next week. I will dive again in the yet to see list, see which movies pop out for me to highlight next week. But definitely stay tuned for next week's episode. By the way, this is how we wrap up our episodes from now on, because we say an action, and now Ewan will say,
If you think that's cheesy, it's all Kevin's doing. And cut.
"What the fuck, man?"
I love throwing you under the bus. Let's fight, buddy.